This gym habit tells me almost everything I need to know about a man's character, and that's whether he puts his weights away or not. For some people, this might seem like a tiny thing. It's not a big deal. They finish their workout, they're kind of tired, they just leave their weights on, and they leave the gym. But it's obviously much deeper than that, and this is why I'm making this video. Because for me personally, I see that this is not just about being lazy. It goes deeper than that. It tells me about this person's character. It tells me that this person is probably selfish, because this person knows that the next person who's going to use the machine or the squat rack or whatever, they're going to have to take their weights off, right? And if it's not the next person working out, it's going to be the gym staff. So at the end of the day, this person expects people to clean their mess for them. And this is a very toxic trait. And this tells me that this person is probably not that responsible and is probably not a great person when people are not looking, right? Because when you put your weights away, it tells me that you don't care if people are watching or not. You do you because you respect yourself and you have your values, right? And you act according to them. So I actually have two stories today from my gym stories of this kind of thing happening, right? So actually today I was squatting and I was looking for the 20 kg plates, right? And while I was working out, I was looking at a guy who was bench pressing across the room, and he had like one 20 kg plate on each side, so 60 kg in total. And I kind of know the guy, and I know he's not exactly someone I would want to talk to necessarily. Let's just put it like that, okay? So I was waiting for him to finish his set so I can go and take the weights. And then suddenly I finished my warm up set and I look across the room and he wasn't there and the weights obviously were still on the bar. So it's like, yeah, I expected that genuinely from a guy like that. Like, you know, because as I said, this tells me way more than just, he probably forgot. No, because this is something you see quite often. It's a pattern that you have to recognize. People who are irresponsible, selfish, they don't care that the next person is going to have to take care of that mess. So, anyways, I walk to the bench and I take 120. I just needed 120. Okay, so one plate. I took the plate off and I walked across the room back and then I put it on onto my bar. And then I realized it was just one plate on one side now of the bar, and that's risky and dangerous. It could fall on someone's foot. So I went back. Again, it's not very close, like the distance between my squat rack and the bench. So I walked again across the room and I took that weight off. I'm not saying this to like brag or make it seem like I'm a good person or anything like that, but I was just genuinely concerned for the next person who was going to use that bench. So I was not happy with that attitude, and it told me everything I need to know about that person. And he was a young guy, right? Probably in like 18 years old or something. So, I mean, it didn't really come as a surprise to me. So, if I had to deal with this person in the future, I know that this person has these qualities because they don't put their weights away, which tells me a lot, okay? But maybe next time I see him, maybe I'll tell him something, just a friendly advice, to actually be responsible and take care of your own mess. Because you're supposed to be someone who carries their own weight, literally and figuratively, right? Because that's your own mess. How can you do something and leave it for the next person to take care of? It's like people who, I don't know, someone's eating at a restaurant and they just like spill some water or some drink on the floor and they just wait for the kitchen or for the restaurant staff to just clean the floor for them. I mean, maybe it's the protocol of the restaurant that they can't, allow people to clean the floor because it can be dangerous, things like that. So they just do it themselves. But at least pretend that you want to clean. At least be courteous enough to, pretend that you care, that you messed up and you want to take care of your own mess. But a person who puts their weights away, that's a person who has morals, like just, I don't know, values, ethics, whatever you want to call it. And on the other hand, actually, the people who I know at the gym that I respect, they always take their weights away. there is some correlation there for sure, 100%. And personally, I could never leave the weights on. I don't have it in me. I'm not that selfish. I can't leave, I don't know, like 3 plates loaded on a bar and just leave the gym, you know? Nobody's gonna tell me anything, obviously. No one can tell me anything. I will just make up any excuse, right? But thing is, I imagine that person taking off like literally 620 kg plates, and just for them to start warming up with the bar, like what is this? Especially if the person is a beginner, they're gonna really struggle. Some people might not even be able to do it. Like for example, some beginners, they might not be even be able to, I don't know, take off the weights. So it's really, really selfish. And again, it's very irresponsible as well. And from my perspective, as this channel is called Vessel's Perspective, I think every single time I work out, every single time I use a plate loaded machine or a bar, I tell myself, like, if you want to be a responsible man, you want to be a good man, you want to be a man who, I don't know, takes everything seriously and doesn't, I don't know, cut corners in his work and things like that. You just want to be like a morally upright person. Take off your weights. Don't leave them for the next person. You can't do that. Even when I'm literally dying, I still take off my weights. I can't leave them to the next person. I just can't. There is no way. Everything I do, I have to take care of my own mess. And this is exactly the point of this video. And the opposite is true. Second story is I saw a guy who was doing RDLs in the squat rack, okay? And I was deadlifting next to him. So, like, not on the rack, just on the normal floor. Because the gym is kind of cramped, to be honest. So I was looking at him, checking out his form and stuff. And then he just left the bar and he went to do some, like, lat pull downs across the room again. I was like, is this guy gonna come back and remove his weights, or is he just gonna like leave that bar? You know, it was like, I don't know, 2 plates and a half or something. It's like 120 kg. So it's not. It's a bit heavy, you know. Like it takes time to unload, and you have to know like put those small plates underneath the like first plate from like, I don't know, closer to the bar from the inside, if that makes sense. So it's just a mess. It's not. It's not. It's really tiring. It's really tedious, you know, to like take away your weights, especially when it's a bar on the floor. And at that time, like when he left, I left him for a bit. I didn't talk to him, right? A girl came in. She seemed like a beginner, and she wanted to use that bar. She wanted to deadlift, and I was like looking at her, and was like, is she gonna try and remove the weights herself, or what's going on? Like, this is not fair, you know. And then I saw her trying, so I was like, I approached her. I was like, I helped her out basically, and I took off the weights for her, and that made me tired. I was doing my own sets. I was deadlifting, so he basically made her tired and me tired as well, just because he was lazy and he didn't want to do it, which was really irritating. And then on the lat pull down machine, he was like using 4 plates on each side. So you're strong enough to do it, so why not? But again, it tells me that this person, again, irresponsible, selfish, you know, not someone I would necessarily respect. But again, or back to the story. So I did that. I helped her out, and then I went up to him actually, and I told him, "Listen, like, what's going on? You just left your bar loaded like that." He was like, he got a bit defensive. Obviously, you know, he was a young man as well. He was like probably 17, 18. Got a bit defensive, but he noticed that I was pretty serious. Like, I'm not playing, man. Like, why are you leaving your bar loaded like that for other people, especially for a beginner girl to just take your weights off? Like, where is your masculinity, man? Like, what is this? And he realized that he was wrong, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I was gonna do it later, but I just wanted to, finish this set here, and I was actually gonna go back and do like more RDLs or something." I was like, "Yeah, sure, but you can't leave it for like 20, 30 minutes loaded for, like you just reserve the bar, while you're doing other sets. If you're supersetting, maybe." And this is a lot of like gym lingo, I guess, and a lot of gym stuff. So if you're not a gym goer, you might not relate necessarily, but you can't leave the bar loaded for 30 minutes and go do something else and then come back to it later. It's not your gym, man, you know? So he apologized and it was fine. We got along at the end and we started talking, and yeah, it was all right at the end. But that's just another story of some people just leaving their mess for other people, you know? So, yeah, just to conclude, this gym habit literally tells me a lot about a person. It tells me so much. If I see a person leaving their weights on and going somewhere else or never coming back or going, I don't know, leaving the gym, I lose a lot of respect for that person. Genuinely, a lot of respect. And the opposite is true. If someone always removes all their mess, the weights, the bench, sometimes you use a bench at the cable machine, to like, I don't know, like chest flies or something with the cables. And then like that person puts the bench back. I would really respect that because I know how tiring it is, especially when you're working out, when you're like actually training, like not like pretending to train, like you're actually training hard. You want to reserve as much energy as possible. And when you're that tired, you're sweating, you're panting, and then you're expected to put the weights back and the bench back and unload the bar, it's not the easiest. But people who do it respect themselves and they act with morals, ethics, they're just genuinely just better people, essentially. With the exception of people who actually don't know how it works, like the very, like, I don't know, uneducated beginners, like who actually know nothing about the gym etiquette. They think, oh, like keeping the weights on is just the norm. This is excusable, obviously, but I'm talking about people who actually know. So yeah, next time you finish your set, I don't know, you're squatting 220 or something, put your weights off, okay? Uh, put your weights away and be a good man and don't do any of that irresponsible, selfish stuff. All right, that was me for today. I hope that was helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.